All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. So excited to see you all here today. We are going to be having Commissioner Layden join us online. We're going to go ahead and kick off with introductions, though. I'm waiting to see. We'll just kick off with introductions. Do you want to start us, Sheriff?
Darren Weekly, Sheriff of Douglas County.
Laura Hefta, Parker Town Council member.
I'm Jennifer Eby with Community Development.
Dan McKelkey, Douglas County Human Services.
Jeff Garcia, County Attorney. Good morning, Dan Marlowe, Help and Hope Center.
Good morning, everyone. Andrea Barnum, Arapahoe Douglas Works.
Kirk Wilson, Lone Tree PD.
John Holloway, RTD.
Alton Reynolds, Lead Navigation Case Manager, RTD.
Paul Baca, Sergeant, Douglas County.
Tiffany Marcito, Heart Team.
Jason Gray, Town of Castle Rock Mayor.
Mike Hill, Douglas County Health Department.
Sean Sanchez, Deputy with Douglas County Sheriff's Office.
All right, and do we have anyone online that would like to introduce themselves?
Bob Laguerre from Aurora, representing Mayor Kaufman.
Cassie Ratliff with Family Tree.
Okay.
Sophia V. Hill from Metro Denver Homeless Initiative.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you all for joining us. We're very excited to have RTD here today to share an update with us. I know that RTD has been here a few times to talk with us about what their efforts look like with coordination on the homelessness side, and Alton Reynolds, is, I know you like to cook, I'm sorry. That's just where my head always goes. Me too. Has joined us. This is the second time I think Alton has been here, and we appreciate that. I know that there has been a lot of efforts from RTD to increase security measures, and I think that we have certainly benefited from that, but we welcome the chance to talk with you all because there's always some more coordination, I think, that can happen and more that we can do. So I know, do we also have Jonathan Holloway? Oh, hello. And who would like to kick us off?
Thank you all for inviting us here today. I've worked closely with collaborating with our Heart Team, or your Heart Team, with those individuals. We've had an opportunity to work closely with what's going on in Douglas County and the changes that you've made by having a Heart Team here. What I generally work with in regards to our RTD team, our collaborations is we hear what's going on, we make our way over to this location. We try to address whatever issues going on within 12 to 24 hours. If there's just a cleanup going on, our RTD team, myself and others on the team will go out and check that location, and we'll address if it's just a cleanup of a encampment or discussing resources or getting those resources moved along. My major goal in regards to that, as I say that, I know that the resources that we have are mostly located south of here, so south and north of here. So what I try to do when I'm talking to a person about what they're needing is to get a clear inclination of what they're wanting, not just saying they want a bus ticket or a train ticket to get to somewhere that they don't know where they're going, but to get more informative of that nature of what they're trying to do. Knowing that they may be on private property or places of that nature, I work closely with our team in terms of saying, yes, we're here to give you resources. However, you're on private property, you're putting yourself in a predicament where your safety may be in danger, so we need you to move forward rather than in the location that you're in. We've had recent situations where we've cleared areas. We've discussed particularly between RTD and the Heart Team how we're going to address end-of-line situations. What that is, when it becomes really late at night, they get off the train and we don't find out about it until about 6 o'clock in the morning where that individual has been walking around and walking about. So there is a communication out to our trains and operations, how we can make it work better so that we can inform the HART team and our RTD teams as to who's getting off the trains at that late hour. We're still in the process of that, but that discussion has begun. Last but not least, the biggest benefit that we're trying to work on is just making sure that the HART team gets great benefits for discounted bus tickets and tickets of that nature so that they'll be able to address issues without having to just contact myself or others on the RTD team to get that to happen. So those are the few things that we're working in collaboration with our HART team in order to make things happen across the board. Turn it to Commander Holloway for other details.
Yeah. Thanks for having us here today. Just talk about it. As you know, RTD has a vast area that we cover. We cover 8 counties and 40 municipalities. So working in collaboration with all of the counties to include Denver and Aurora, and we're really, our main hub is, we're seeing a huge influx of the societal issues that every county faces and how we're trying to resolve those. Working closely with Alton and our clinicians that we have as first responders that are going out with their officers on a daily basis to provide these resources. And the purpose of us being here too is to discuss that, yes, we want to work in collaboration. We need to have a common goal of, not just transporting everybody, putting them on RTD and putting them down in Denver where all the resources are, because that creates problems for all the municipalities, all of the jurisdictions that we have along the way. So our goal is to work in partnership with our agencies to have somebody respond out. If it's somebody on RTD property, we have people that are on call that we can go out and address these needs more immediately and try to provide them the resources that they need. With that being said, we just lost 1 clinician, but we have in the budget for 3 more this next year, along with 1 on Alton staff to address some of these rising issues that we have. The biggest thing we need to work on with the agencies is communication of having a timely response and addressing the priorities that we have more timely in that communication aspect of it, especially with the vast area that we cover, because we go all the way from Douglas County, as you know, all the way up into Boulder County. So you can imagine the problems that we have along our routes, and we all know that a lot of the homeless population or unhoused population, a lot of the migrant population are using RTD right now. So all the jurisdictions that we cover are seeing a huge influx in this, and how are we managing our resources? So, it's more of the timely response and putting in contact with the right people of how we're addressing them better and using our resources together better to address some of these needs. So.
You've done a lot as far as increasing your just the amount of officers that you have available under RTD. What does that look like now, and what does that look like?
So what I can talk about is a little over a year ago when I went on to RTD, we were around that 22 officers. Right now, we're at 91 swarms. We've had a huge influx of hiring this past year. And as we're doing that, we're deploying our resources strategically, with a lot of our focus being on Denver Union Station, because that's our main hub. Aurora, Douglas County, and our HE&R lines, which affect Douglas County and down through the I-25 corridor. So as we do that, we are authorized for 55 more officers this next year. But a lot of problems that we're facing right now is some of the infrastructure aspect that we need, facilities, cars, stuff like that are on order, that we're just waiting on some of the stuff to arrive so we can be more effective and be more mobile. Right now, a lot of our stuff is placing them at locations where they may not have a patrol vehicle right now on some of the problem areas that we're seeing. But as we get more of our resources in, we're going to be more strategic of placing them out, having a better response, working in partnership with our agencies that we have jurisdictions with to better address some of the problems that we're seeing.
Okay.
We just also finished up right now, as everybody knows, we rely heavily on our partnership agencies with filing cases and conducting follow-up investigations. However, we just completed our first detective process this past week, so we're going to be bringing detectives on board. So we're not putting stuff on other agencies, so we're able to handle stuff as a fully functioning police department as we continue to grow and build our infrastructure to address some of these community needs and provide more resources to our partnership agencies as well with investigative needs.
And before we end, I'd like to invite anybody to contact me if there's concerns about the unhoused population. If you've already got the HART team that you can reach out to, but if there's a concern, especially along our rail or our lines or something close to that nature, feel free to contact me directly. I have that information. The HART team has that information, and we'll distribute it so that everybody can reach it and contact us quickly.
Sure. And with that said too, with our RTD Transit Watch app, our RTD police site, if we have these problems with either encampments or safety and security needs of any RTD lots or properties, there's the ability to go online and have direct communication with any of our sector commanders that cover that area. So we can address those needs directly for that direct communication and getting back with our partnership agencies and the citizens that we serve to address these needs in a timely manner. Because a lot of times people don't know RTD even has a police department if they call the non-emergent number. So if it is something on RTD property, we're requesting that people contact us so we can address them, to uphold our policy and procedures on the property as well, because we have a massive amount of property that we cover.
Okay, well, we appreciate that, absolutely, and very happy to hear about the increase in services that, and just the number of officers you're planning to bring online. I think that's going to make a big difference. I wonder if the sheriff or Chief Wilson have, any thoughts along how we could better coordinate or what that could look like, anything along those lines?
No, I don't have any more. We're already coordinating, so.
Okay. Well, I think it's great that you all are coordinating, and I know I've heard a lot more about coordination with HART. I wonder, Alton, if you can tell us a little bit about how that coordination looks like with other street outreach teams throughout the metro area, and if there's anything kind of we can learn from what you're doing elsewhere that might be effective. And I know we're using HART referrals to make sure that we have that coordination going. Is that accurate?
I honestly must say leaps and bounds. I remember when the HART team was developed, how structure was kind of figuring out how you were going to build a HART team. But by working with Tiffany and the team, there's a quick communication as to, hey, Alton, there's this going on. I appreciate the opportunity to get down here and try to hey, tongue-tied, it's beautiful.
I understand.
And try to reconcile what's going on in regards to what issue may be going on. We've had opportunities where I've met with the HART team just to go check different stations and see what's going on. Not necessarily seeking out anything in particular, but just checking what those stations look like. If there's an update that Tiffany has of somebody being in a location in between those stations, I'm happy to come out and see what's going on. I've received information from the teams about, hey, we've got trash just sitting here. Can your team come out and do it? Mm-hmm. And we've addressed it within 24 hours by me communicating with our officers as well as our RTD cleaning team to do things. So I would say leaps and bounds is one way I would like to describe our communication with the HART team. Knowing that they're down here makes it easier, as we were described. It's a large area to cover. Mm-hmm. But knowing that the HART team has a lot of that area covered makes it easier on me to say, okay, that's been resolved without me having to come down. But when needed, I'm happy to come down here as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Anything to add, Tiffany?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, so the referral process from the bus driving staff and the train staff, that's a work in progress. So we're hoping that we can communicate with them, and Alton's been working very hard with their staff to try to get more referrals from their staff to our team. But that's the hope for the future in the coming months, that he can get those referrals to that staff and they can provide that information to our team, especially the ones that start their shift at 6 a.m. So just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I think that's a good way to get the information directly to the team, and I know that they're very responsive when it comes to that. So, and you know, as you're going through all of this, if there are things we can learn from other jurisdictions, we're always open to that and interested in hearing about how others are being effective along those lines. So, any other questions for RTD from anyone? And I'm not necessarily seeing anything online. So thank you very much to both of you. Thank you for coming down and sharing the information with us. And thank you most of all for the partnership that you've provided. I think that's been tremendous and has made a big difference for us. Thank you. All right, so then we're going to move to Jeff Garcia for an ordinance update.
Morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. So Commissioner Layden asked me to come out and just kind of close the loop on something we'd been discussing. So as is the case with everybody in this room, Douglas County is a lot more than just talk. When we talk about something, we discuss something in this room, it frequently becomes policy, and in this case, it became law. In about 3 meetings ago, maybe 4, we started discussing a change in our camping ban. And the goal would be to have the most up-to-date legal camping ban that's permitted. Our original camping ban was passed in June of 2023, and it had a special carve-out in that camping ban that said that it would be that no one could violate the camping ban if there was no shelter available or shelter offered. The Supreme Court, as I've previously discussed with this group, changed that. There was conversation that not having shelter available and placing a camping ban and a restriction and a violation of that would actually be a violation of the 8th Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. But the Supreme Court recently found that that's not the case, that there's a lot of reasons why individuals may be homeless, and some, in fact, are voluntarily homeless. And they made it very clear that you can have a camping ban and not require shelter or the availability of shelter, or the offer of shelter. One more step that they took was clarifying where such a camping ban could be placed. We were conservative in our approach and said that we would only enforce it on county-owned property. The Supreme Court made that very clear, that it's public property, not just county-owned property or government-owned property, but it's public property. And that's important for enforcement reasons, because our Sheriff's Department does a wonderful job in enforcing outside of unincorporated. We have agreements with other municipalities, as well as we have agreements where enforcement may occur on another government-owned piece of land. So like a special district or municipal district, we see that quite a bit in Highlands Ranch. So we discussed what those changes might be in this group 3 or 4 months ago, and we've actually made those changes. So the first change is that we no longer have that shelter requirement, so that the camping ban can be in place and enforced without the offer or availability of shelter. That's not to say that we wouldn't offer support. Our HEART teams do a wonderful job of always offering support, and housing and questions about housing are a part of that, but it simply states from a legal standpoint that is not a requirement. Secondly, we cleaned up that county language, that county property language, so it wouldn't just be on an unincorporated Douglas County government-owned property, but it would be on public property where our Sheriff's Department does the enforcement of the ordinance. The ordinance went through first and second reading. It was adopted by the county on second reading on September 24th, and this new amended ordinance will be in place on October 25th. So that the existing ordinance is under operation now until the 25th, and on the 25th, those 2 changes will take effect. I know that was brief, but if anyone has questions, I'm more than happy to answer. But it's very nice to see that the things that we talk about in this room, they become policy and they actually become action. And here it's a law that's really supporting our whole community. So, no questions. Thank you, everybody. 1, 2, 3? Okay.
We appreciate your presentation and your update on that. Wanted to give an opportunity to the municipalities to see if there's any updates as well.
Jason Gray, Town of Castle Rock Mayor. Not really from Castle Rock. We're kind of following the county's lead on this, and we've done also county ban, similar and mostly similar to water and that kind of thing. So thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, in the town of Parker, we are in close communication with Mr. Garcia, and we're following the county's lead on this, but we also are waiting to see if there's any further challenges on this matter as well, as there could be. So we have not had an ordinance discussion yet.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I think, so we will go ahead and move on to executive committee member updates. I know we have a few people online, so if there are any updates online, go ahead and let me know, or maybe raise your hand if that is something that you're interested in giving an update on. And in the meantime, I'll ask for anybody in the room if there are any updates. Yes, council member.
Just for the town of Parker, we're going through our budget right now, and so we were updated by our police chief on having to include in the budget a cleanup cost. So as you know, the cleanup costs can get expensive for encampments. Right now in Parker, we have 3 encampments on a regular basis that we're trying to address. And so we put about $50,000 in a cleanup budget for that for upcoming years. And also we're going to hire a hazardous waste cleanup official type of cleanup and not have our Parker police to do that as well. The police chief tells me we're making progress on the 3 encampments and some of the regular homeless folks that actually don't want services. So the HEART team is still working hard with our police department to offer them services. I think the issue is always getting folks the services they want.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah. Any other executive committee updates? Sure, I'm not seeing anything online. Anything? Okay. Okay, we will turn it over to you, Tiffany, for a HEART update.
All right, thank you, Jen. I will start with our success story this month. There was a male that was walking off 85 heading up north, and it was called in by a concerned citizen. The HEART unit contacted the male. He was trying to get up into the metro region. We provided him with a ride to the bus stop along with a ticket. Made sure that he knew where he was going to go, provided him with the address, the correct line to get on, but also really talked up the Ready to Work program in Aurora. We've seen a lot of success with individuals completing that program and really getting back on their feet. Provided him with an application, the general information about the program, and eventually he just wanted to get on his way. So a week later, the navigator that was working with him just happened to call the Ready to Work program and was inquiring to see if this gentleman had contacted their agency. They had to return their call. The next day, they got a call saying not only did he come into the program, he was accepted and is doing very well. So we didn't transport that individual directly to the shelter, but just allowing him to think of the improvements that could make on his life just was unending. So kudos to the HEART team. Half the team is here today, so thank you all for being here. The next slide, please. So the HEART calls that we got last month totaled 236. That was the most amount of call types that we have ever received. 25% of those were from law enforcement, 7% public referral forms, 8% citizen calls, 5% community partner referrals, and 55 was proactive street outreach. So if the navigation teams are not on a call that's from law enforcement or a concerned citizen called in, they are actively reaching out to businesses. They are on the RTD light rail, bus stops, on the trails with their bikes. They are all over the place trying to find encampments, people who may need services. So that was 55% of those 236 were all outreach activity by our team. Next slide is the outcomes of the 236 call types. 135 of those were no unsheltered person found. And we contribute that to more teams being out in the community and on the trails, around the bus stops, working with the local municipalities. So great work by our team with just proactively being out in the community, trying to outreach individuals. 6, we provided general information to. 37 individuals were actually contacted by our team. 7 were not from Douglas County. 18 ended up not meeting the homeless criteria. 21 refused services. 4 had law enforcement action, whether it was arrested on a warrant, a ticket for trespassing, or what have you, and 7 unoccupied camps. And the services that we provided to individuals, 20 were giving support with housing, 14 nights of motel vouchers were used, 16 individuals were given transportation assistance, and that could be either a ride to the bus stop, it could be we provided them with gas or a bus ticket to get back to their support system, and then 8 were referred to a shelter of their choosing. So 47 households received 1 or more service last month. And then here, the next slide just depicts where the calls are coming from that we receive. 29% Highlands Ranch, 23% Parker, Castle Pines 8%, Littleton and Larkspur both 1%, Castle Rock 17%, Englewood 3%, Lone Tree 17%, and other Douglas County was 1. Does anybody have any questions? Mike?
You probably need to hold it close to you, Mike.
Just a quick one. I just noticed the refused services when you're going through there was about twice as much as previous months. What's the situation there where people are refusing services? Just doesn't seem like who would refuse services? I mean, I know some people do, but.
I mean, that could be contributed to the increase of call types that we have for the month as well. It could range from a variety of reasons. Somebody has a substance abuse addiction. They're not ready to get into treatment yet, and they are just refusing any help at all. They're just not in a space yet where they want to be enrolled in services, and that's okay. We'll still contact and follow up with these individuals, but I think it's a variety of issues. It ranges from person to person, mental health, substance abuse, criminal activity.
But you're not seeing anything specific that's causing this? Okay.
No.
Any other questions or comments after the heart report? Okay, well, thank you. I do think it is telling that we are looking at more as far as kind of the numbers of people that you're interacting with. And I think that's, yes, probably a result of the fact that we do have more of our heart units that are out and doing a lot of that proactive work, but still definitely have issues that are keeping heart, I think, on their toes and out in the community to address. So I'm happy to see you all here, but also happy that you're out in the community and doing the work that you're doing. Yeah, Mike?
just want to say, I was just talking to Dan, and I think we're both seeing this. Just to make everyone aware, I'm sure you guys are probably seeing it too if you're working with those that are struggling, but we are seeing a huge increase just in the past couple months, just kind of like upticks of people that are requesting needs. A lot of them, they're on the verge of evictions, and so, I mean, we're seeing probably now well over 100 a month that, and we're only able to help maybe 10%. Okay. So there's seems to be a significant rise. And then as we come into the winter months, I think we're going to probably see even more of that. So just, I don't know what the answer is, but I think we're going to see some more issues.
Is there any, I guess, commonality to the requests that you're seeing that are coming in, or the increase in evictions that you're seeing from the people that you're talking with? Do you have a sense of that? Is it, kind of post-COVID related, or?
I think it's a kind of like Tiffany's response. I think there's a variety of things. We're seeing some that I think it was we kicked the can on some where we've helped them, and we're depleting the resources here. I mean, we've seen some where we've helped $25,000 worth of services, and they're coming back again for another round. And we're like, well, I think we have to help people that maybe this is their first time through and they need help. So we're seeing that, but we're also seeing a lot of new people that we haven't worked with before that are coming in, and I think, I don't know if it's difficult times. I think they're, just a number of different issues. Dan, I don't know if you have any other insight into that.
Yeah, I think there's a category of people that have learned how to take the assistance that's available and make that as part of their budget. And
now that's gone.
Yeah, it's gone, and we are also imposing limits on that so that we're not going to just continually do financial assistance for folks that are, that it's obvious that this is just how they've learned to live. The other one is, and I've talked about this before, is that group of people, that are like less than 80% of AMI but too much for government assistance through different programs. And so that group of people, that's upticking for us significantly, and that's who we're really focusing on right now.
One recent situation I had is someone that was a veteran, and they were in a situation where you could only make a certain amount of money, or they would lose their medical assistance. And so those are also, I think, those are issues, because it's like, well, they want to make more money, but now they're having a problem where they could get evicted from their home, but if they make more money, then they're going to lose their medical support. So there's those type of issues as well. And then I think some of it too, I've found is a lot of people just don't know how to budget their money. And so we're looking at programs too to help just people. And I've been talking to people, and we're trying to get them into financial programs. And they're saying, I just don't know how to do this. I don't know how to manage my money. I never learned how to do it. And I've always been just kind of on the edge and just month to month. And it works until it doesn't, right? Until that one thing hits, and then all of a sudden it spirals down. This person had just started racking up some credit card debt, but credit card debt is between 25 and 30% now interest. And so, I mean, you hit a certain threshold, and then all of a sudden it's like you can't get out of the hole. So I think we're seeing a number of different things, but I don't know. I guess my question is, how do we work together to maybe take even a more proactive approach? What can we do for those that maybe aren't quite coming in for the help right now, but they need help? How can we walk alongside people to proactively keep them from being those that are the next ones to be evicted?
And I think one of the things that I've seen over the years in my time at Douglas County, that when we have depleted resources, right? I mean, we went through a period of time where we had a a lot of resources available for people, especially through programs like the Emergency Rent Assistance Program, where, you know, a tremendous amount of support was being provided over multiple months. So yes, I can see how that might have gotten worked into people's budgets.
Yeah.
And we're at a point now where we no longer have those funds available because, you know, that was really COVID recovery funds. We're beyond that point, and I'm sure that people have depended on whatever resources they have available to them, whether that being going to nonprofits or credit cards or whatever the case may be. But over the years, we've always had the problem that people are not coming into all of our different agencies collectively early enough for us to be able to have, you know, a strong way to help them be successful, because sometimes they wait too long and the bill is too large and we don't have the resources to be able to address it. So I wonder if kind of circling back to that and doing something along the lines of letting people know, you know, these resources are available for you, and we want to make sure that you are engaging with the agencies that can help early and often.
Yeah. And I'll just say, I think we saw a lot of, we had a lot of funds as the county helping people. But what we're seeing is, I think it was a handout. I don't know how much of it was a help up. And so we were seeing people were getting, it was kind of kicking the can. We were helping people, but they were then becoming more and more reliant on those things. And now we're seeing, gosh, I don't know if just handing them the funds and saying, here you go. There is emergency situations where, okay, you need to, we got to get them out of the hole right away. But then there needs to be that accountability, that follow up for them to engage in some things to actually get the help up and not just the handout. So yeah, we got some work to do, but I love what we're doing.
Thank you. I just wanted to add that at Arapahoe Douglas Works, we do offer financial independence and financial planning workshops, financial literacy being one of them. We also have a newer workshop series called Money Matters, and folks can look at we have a calendar of events online, adworks.org. So you can refer participants to sign up for these workshops online. Also, if they're receiving services at Arapahoe Douglas Works, their workforce specialist would be able to help them sign up for these as well. We do a lot of cliff effect planning with participants as well. And so if you're not familiar with the cliff effect, it's really the conversation around net financial resources and helping folks that are receiving public benefits understand when that kind of cliff of falling off of public benefits, different kinds of benefits, will impact their families' budgets and how they can look to overcome that. A lot of the conversation is twofold. It's really that budgeting, financial awareness, but it's also really looking at career pathways and understanding how making better wages and being on that career pathway can help them in the long run. And so them seeing through those conversations and us using tools actually built by the Federal Reserve that we utilize with them to see projections of how much they can earn in the lifetime, how that can impact their family's budgets, how, you know, making that raise or getting that raise or getting that new job will impact their benefits, and in the long run how they're better off if they are choosing that pathway in a lot of instances, and some how they wouldn't be, but how we can help them overcome that with referrals in the community or through additional income or supports. So just wanted to throw that out there, that we do have those workshops in addition to a lot of work readiness and other job readiness workshops. And so adworks.org is where you can find that information, and if participants are already engaged with us, they'll be getting that information from their workforce specialist directly.
Andrea, are there any qualifications for that? Any eligibility requirement that people would need to meet just for our agencies?
No. Career services, Sasha's programs, those are available to job seekers that walk in or want to attend virtually. So we do have some workshops offered virtually, some in person. The calendar of events is available on the website. But no, you wouldn't need to meet criteria in order to attend those workshops, either in person or Center virtually, so anyone can attend.
Great.
Yes, yes, we do have, yes, we do have a resource center in Castle Rock at the STERM ACC Collaborative Campus. We do offer in-person and virtual services there as well. We just had an open house last month for Workforce Development Month. So yeah, please encourage participants to show up there. And we can also meet them, you know, at Human Services, and our hours at STERM 8 to 4:30. Yep, 8 to 4:30, Monday through Thursday. Yep, yep.
Great.
Thanks, Dan.
So easy.
I was just going to say that one other variable that I think we're all aware of, but that's you know, when you're on the verge and you're just barely making it, and then all of a sudden all the prices rise of housing. You know, people's rent is going up. If they have rent, we're seeing food is a huge one that, like what, you know, maybe would cost $500 a month or $1,000 a month is now almost doubled that. And so even with our food bank, we're seeing people are coming in, not because they're on the verge of homelessness, but because they can't afford what they could afford a couple months ago. And so in order even to feed their families, they're just like, we need to supplement something. We have to have some additional food that can, because of the increase in costs. So.
Okay, and that makes sense. Councilmember Hefta?
Yeah, recently I was in contact with some attorneys that are helping folks, Mike, on the eviction process. And one of the requests I had as an attorney in Douglas County that does a lot of eviction help is that he didn't know the resources, all the resources to turn to. Now on my webpage, I have 52 blog sites on my webpage, and I list there's a blog called Crisis Situations on my webpage, and I list all of the free legal consultations that a person can go to in Douglas County. And I've got another one that lists all the shelters on my webpage as well. But I would really love, I don't know if the county can assist in this, a list of eviction resources in Douglas County that I could put on my webpage. And I don't know if anyone can get me that, but that would really help the attorneys as well, so they would know who to refer to. And of course, we could include AD Works and a list of what's going on. You know, Secor Cares and Parker Task Force in Parker are definitely on those lists, but could we get that information so some of these attorneys can help?
I think this is Dan McKelkey from Human Services. One, I want to reiterate, we have more people on food assistance in this county now than we've ever had in our history. It's doubled. So just in general, I think people are hurting. I would say as an agency that gets contacted every day for eviction, people who are on the verge of eviction, by the time that they're on the verge of eviction, it's too late. And whether or not they are spending more money than they have, or whether or not, it really unfortunately doesn't matter. None of us have the amount of money to save someone from an eviction at that point. And often we ask, and I'll tell you, it's one of the hardest things we do is to say no to someone who needs support, because we don't have, none of us have the budgets to fix everybody's cars and to save people from evictions. And I do think some way of being a little bit more proactive, we are seeing more people who are homeless in the county living in their cars. But it's an interesting thing that we have going on now. We look like everybody else, and before we didn't. So we have all the same people in need. It just may not look like it does in or maybe Denver or Jefferson County. But I would say the need is not just rising for you. Come to the Human Services lobby. I mean, it's a microcosm of what's going on in your community.
Rand?
So I think it would be wise of us at the direction of the executive committee to come to you in a future month and bring you all up to date on some of the changes that have happened in the state as it relates to our rental assistance and eviction prevention. We did see coming out of the COVID area with the emergency rental assistance funds where millions and millions of dollars were spent to help people stay housed through the through the pandemic, a change in the way that assistance is being distributed across the state. The Colorado voters, a little over a year ago, passed Proposition 123, which provided funding to the state of Colorado to address housing, and a part of that funding source has been designated for rental assistance, eviction prevention, homeless prevention. We'll talk to you more about what that means. But I think it would be wise for us to come and share with you about some of those changes so everybody knows what that looks like. We are seeing more and more, even from the state now in their programs, this idea that folks can be helped once. And so it's really important, I think, that we consider how not only do we provide that help with that assistance payment to help them stay housed, but provide the other resources around workforce development, mental health, those kinds of things to not just kick the can down the road for three more weeks when they need help again, but really address and fix and solve some of the core and underlying issues. I do want to remind the executive committee that Douglas County did receive a grant for eviction prevention. To give you a context of scope, we have $50,000, and with matching funds, we're able to spend about $75,000. That goes really fast when you're talking about people facing eviction and they're coming to us with a court order to pay $5,000 or be evicted. So that doesn't help a ton of families. We put in for a grant, but again, limited funding at the state and federal level. That's what we were able to receive. We are fortunate that we were able to spin up a program. Very much appreciate Stephen and his leadership in that program. And then a number of our community partners, Catholic Charities, MANA, Help and Hope. I know Arapahoe Douglas Works is on there. All Health is on a call. We meet monthly to discuss families who are on that brink of eviction. And this is for the very end of the road. This isn't for the person that I can't pay my rent next month. It is, I have a court order in hand to show up in court and I can't pay my rent. It's the very, very, very last step. In fact, I think we have 4 we're looking at currently enrolled in the program that we could provide them with typically about 3 months of case management to help make sure it does stick. But we have 2 today that the request is sitting in the sheriff's office to come and perform the eviction, and we're in a race to see who wins. The sheriff's deputies or Steve running to the apartment complex with a check to try and help avoid that eviction. And so we're working with the apartment communities. We're working in the confines of the legal system to try and make this work as best we can. It's not really a race, Sheriff. It is we're all doing our jobs, right? But that's the metaphor we talk about all the time, because there's a process, there's a legal process that's following, and the apartment communities will say, if you can be here before the sheriff, we'll take that check and we'll call off the eviction. And so we're trying our best to do that. But I think a broader update to the group would be wise in the future, give you a little more details, help a council member have to help answer some of your questions. So we're not doing it off the top of our head, but that is essentially what we're able to do today. And it's more, but it's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And on our end, we have applied for additional funds along these lines to be able to do more in the future. But I think really understanding what that need is that you are seeing at the nonprofit level, and being able to, quantify that and then communicate that as we're applying for these funds might be helpful for us if we're looking to get, I would say we probably could have used at least 500,000 along these lines, and got 50. So there is quite a need for quite a bit more funding, and we do recognize that, but it would help us to be able to quantify that more if we're working more closely with you and understand how many people are coming in your doors so that we can, communicate that in our grant applications to hopefully bring more funding into the community to help prevent evictions and prevent homelessness, really. That's our goal. So, okay. Great conversation on that. Definitely a big need and not a surprising one, considering the amount of assistance that was provided previously. We knew there was not a lot of need along these lines. And I do have to commend all of the different partner agencies that we've been working with, because through all of these different programs, including, the program that Stephen's put together currently and previously with the ERA program, there always has been an element of case management with all of these programs. So, we have been taking the steps that to try and keep people in a, self-sufficient kind of state and help them work through those barriers. But I think that there are a lot of barriers to overcome, especially when we've seen the economy do what it is still doing, and it does still feel like there is an impact to households. I mean, if you're seeing that, Mike, at the Rock with, food, the number of people that are coming in to supplement their food, then people are still feeling that. So I think that there's a lot we still need to continue to do, but I do want to, provide a lot of kudos to our partner agencies who have always, walked along with us and provided that case management. And I think we all believe in that philosophy. So anything else on this? Okay. I am not, we'll go ahead and ask for any public comments in the room, if there are any. Okay. And I am not aware of any online, but Kim, if there is anyone online that would like to make public comments, please let me know. Okay. Well, I think that with that, we are at the end of our agenda. We absolutely appreciate everybody that's come out and the good conversation that we've had. I hope we can continue those conversations and continue those efforts. Jeff, thank you for coming and providing us with an update on the ordinance. And absolutely, once again, we appreciate RTD and your efforts, and thank you for coming down as well. We will see you all at the next meeting. That is November 14th, as we kind of ride into the holiday season. Okay, thank you very much.